Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo.
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrandt. I am joined, as always, by my friend and colleague and co-host and whatever else of many years. His name is Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
You know, Ty, it is a time of upheaval and change and new things, and I'm feeling pretty good. All things considered, Ty, I'm doing all right. I'm very excited. We can talk about this a little later. Piesman Trophy ceremony is in about 48 hours from the time of recording.
Huge ceremony, yeah.
So life is good.
A lot of news to get through, but don't forget you can follow us at Solid Verbal on Twitter. We're also on Facebook and Snapchat as well. More info on the Snapchat feed coming a little bit later on in the show when we talk to our producer Taylor about his trip down to Army Navy. We'll discuss Snapchat a little bit more. We're also on iTunes at itunes.com/Solid Verbal. Dan, before we get into it, I want to invite everyone to get in on our bowl pool. I've posted links on Twitter. I will post that out on the website as well as on our Facebook feed. Get in on the bowl pool. It's a confidence pool. When you and I go through and preview all the games, we're going to reference the point spread, but since neither you nor I really are any good at picking against it, we're just going to talk about all the bowl games relative to our confidence in each of those outcomes. So we'll give our confidence picks for you. And also, we did have a pick-up pool winner by the name of anonymous name of Robert A. Robert A.
Ooh.
If Robert A. could email us, we'd love to give him a fabulous prize.
Bobby A.
Yeah, we're just not, I don't have any means of contacting Bobby A. So give us a holler at solidverbal@gmail.com. Now, that is out of the way. So we have breaking news. Boop, 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 boop. Danny, you have a new head football coach up there in Eugene, Oregon, do you not?
I don't personally, and I'm definitely not in Eugene, Oregon, but yeah. Oregon has hired, and it seemed it was going to be in the works forever, but Oregon, after about a week's search, decided to hire USF's Willie Taggart, and that specific hire was in the works for a couple of days, I want to say, just in terms of it seemed like he was a finalist. It seemed like, maybe they're going to go with Dan Mullen. Maybe Chip Kelly's coming back to Eugene, which was it was not going to happen. And they ended up going with Willie Taggart, who I think, all in all, is a very good hire. He's somebody with a very good coaching pedigree, comes from a very good coaching tree, has turned around to smaller programs. He doesn't necessarily need to turn Oregon around from like a 1-11 position, but it's not terribly far from there. And he's known for a few specific things, and including turning around an offense and shifting to a more spread tempo, power rushing offense that USF really dominated with this year, especially on the ground. He's known for recruiting, and certainly Western Florida is a more fertile place. Tampa specifically, a more fertile recruiting ground than Eugene, Oregon, but has experience recruiting on the West Coast with his time at Stanford. Coach Toby Gerhart to a Heisman finalist place and a very dangerous running back during his time in the Pac-10 at that time. I think has a very likable personality. And, the USF fans that were tweeting me early this morning after it became official were talking about how much they're going to miss him after how he turned around the program, got them to 10-2. So all in all, there are going to be the same concerns I've had over these past couple of years about defense, because it's not like he brings better players or necessarily a better coordinator at the moment. So that is a TBD thing. Whoever was going to come in, that was going to be the big question, who they hire. He was considerably less, Ty. I think it was $3.2 million is the reported salary.
Over 5 years, right?
Over 5 years, which is pretty standard, considerably less years-wise than Matt Rhule, who they were also rumored to be interested in as recently as Sunday or Monday night. I guess probably not Monday. That was when he was hired. Or was it yesterday? I don't know. Who knows? He was hired early in the week. But at $3.2 million, he is considerably less than somebody like Jim McElwain or Dan Mullen would have cost Oregon, thus potentially, depending on how Oregon feels about having started or about to start paying Mark Helfrich $11 million with his buyout, potentially more money for assistants, which I think is the move, the Dabo Swinney, Ed Orgeron move.
The Dabo mold. Has anyone given comment yet on if he'll be carrying over the gimmick offense that Oregon's been running, or do you expect we're going to see something new?
Let me tell you something about Willie Taggart.
I just want to know, Dan. Just please inform me as a third-party observer.
The gimmick offense that just demolished Navy this year? Raise your hand if you root for a team that beat Navy. Just real quick.
I just want to know what his plans are, because Oregon's not been in a good place all season. So inform me, please.
Sure. Yeah. So whatever gimmick he used to beat Navy, I assume there will be some iteration of that.
Okay, good.
In Eugene.
Good.
And did a very good job getting the ball to playmakers, developed Quentin Flowers, who you like, Ty.
Love my boy Quentin Flowers.
So I assume he will not do, obviously the personnel is in place in Eugene to run a very similar offense to what Oregon has been running. They have a young, promising quarterback in Justin Herbert, a lot of depth at skill positions. The defense is going to be the question. Who he brings in, we saw the hire 2 years ago at Tom Allen look exceptional. That USF defense was a top 30 defense under Tom Allen, and they struggled this past season as they shifted to a more tempo-oriented offense. So he has made a recent very good defensive coordinator hire. There are rumors about enormous names that if said enormous names don't get head coaching jobs, could end up in Eugene.
Okay.
But I'd be happy with a pretty big name.
A pretty big name, I think, would be a step forward. What I like in some of the early coverage of this move, and we've been following Willie Taggart since his days at Western Kentucky, and then he moved to USF, and there was always a lot of excitement around him being a rising star in the coaching profession. The one thing that I like, I think above all else that I've read about Willie Taggart, is his ability to be flexible. And you don't have to dig too deep to find comments from some of the guys who have played under him, who have commented on, hey, like, this guy's willing to listen to what we have to say as players. If we go to him and we say there's something we'd like change, something we think might work better, he's a guy who's inclusive to the point that he's willing to implement that stuff in the game plan. That's not something you hear a whole lot of. There are a lot of coaches out there who,
this is the system I run.
This is the plan. I'm sticking to it. I mean, I think Matt Rhule, actually, in some of the interviews he's given, he's talked about Tom Coughlin in the NFL. And one of the things he admired about Coughlin was the fact that Coughlin had a plan and never veered from it. Well, you could debate the merits of that if you want to. Willie Taggart is not that kind of coach. Willie Taggart's willing to adjust the plan as he sees fit. And I think that's something that if you are an Oregon fan, if you're a player in a Willie Taggart system, that's probably pretty cool to be rooting for, because it means if you find something that's working, you can expect to see more of it.
Yeah. How do you feel about the hire, Ty? Just in terms of what was out there and what Oregon has looked like these past couple years, for better or worse, and the challenge that is, and the advantage that is coaching in Eugene. Challenge being you're far away from recruits and you're in a considerably tougher Pac-12 North than it was a few years ago. Advantage being you got a ton of resources and sort of name cachet.
I feel better about this one than I do the Matt Rhule hire. We'll talk about Matt Rhule here momentarily, I'm sure, but at least Willie Taggart has some experience in that area of the country, in that conference. And that's not to say that you can't go somewhere new and succeed if you're a good coach. I get that, but I like the fact that he's got a little bit of familiarity with the Pac-12 North area of the world. He's got enough firepower on the recruiting front to go out and recruit nationally. And everywhere he's been prior, he's been really successful. Just in looking at the names that are out there, I like the fact that he's young. I like the fact that he's energetic. I like the fact that he's got this propensity to be creative and inventive. I think of the names available, he was probably the best one of the bunch.
Interesting. Okay. I think, and we've talked about this sort of at length before, I think scheme is sort of overappreciated sometimes when it comes to head coaches, specifically.
Totally. I agree with that.
Guys
100%.
as, quote, innovators. And I think guys who come in and sort of set a specific culture and get a ton of buy-in and get a ton of efforts and hire the right coaches and are able to replace the right coaches, I think that's sort of underappreciated.
The ability to adapt. My favorite quote of all time is from Mike Tyson about everyone having I'm serious. Everyone having a plan until they're punched in the mouth. And it's 100% true. That's how you know if you're a real innovator, if you can adjust on the fly.
Right.
When the rubber meets the road and you need to make some changes on the fly, you need to be able to be effective in that capacity, and I think Willie Taggart's done that. So we'll see what he does at Oregon. We'll see what this means now, what the ripple effect is across college football, because there are names like Lane Kiffin and Charlie Strong and some others who are rumored to be high on USF's list as their next head football coach. I'm sure we will cover that at a point when it's relevant. In the meantime, though, there were other hirings, and Matt Rhule to Baylor was one that sort of snuck under the radar, Dan. Now, Matt Rhule is a guy I know you're really high on. He's done great things at Temple. Baylor rewarded him with a 7-year contract, which is not standard as the 5-year is. 7 years, presumably, because he's going to need a little bit more runway to rebuild this thing down there. This is a guy who's from Pennsylvania. He's a Penn State guy. He did good things at Temple. Now he's going down to Baylor, a state of Texas that he doesn't have a whole lot of familiarity with, a conference that he doesn't have much familiarity with. That sort of thing makes me leery. Should I be leery about that?
Oh, hold on, Ty. Guess what? Ty, hold on. I have a song. You ready, Ty?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a guest, Ty.
Oh!
Okay, here we go. Hold on. I got to give Nicole Auerbach from the USA Today.
Hello,
an earbud.
Nicole.
Hi, Ty.
Hey, Nicole, how are
I'm so
you?
excited. You know,
Awesome.
you're my favorite half of this.
Whoa!
That's a lot when you're sitting next to the other half.
We are crammed into it.
I'm
I call
actually
this my
like
audio
6
coffin.
inches away from his face. It's really close.
It's a very
Like I said,
intimate-
You are my favorite.
Intimate and sweaty setting. I've seen it.
It's not sweaty. It's like a good temperature in here.
In the winter,
Okay.
it's not bad.
It's much warmer than outside, so I'm okay with that.
Nicole, your timing is very good.
I was trying to make sure that it was during the show when I crashed.
Oh, yeah. Nicole, what do you think of Matt Rhule going to Baylor?
I think that is a really good coach.
Okay.
If I'm him, I don't know if I want to go into that mess.
Okay.
But I don't really care too much about the Texas ties. I think you can hire people who can do that for you. And so I think if you're Baylor, you've got to be thrilled because it's a really good coach and a good dude. Also, I just want to point out, in case Ralph Russo is listening, that Matt Rhule texted me back first yesterday.
Wow. What did you text him?
Like, congrats on your new job.
What did he say?
Thanks. And
Wow.
then Ralph sent the same
College
thing,
football
though.
gossip.
That's a scoop right here on the verbal.
And Ralph got nothing. And then he texted Matt Rhule again. And he goes, seriously? Auerbach gets more love than me first? He was so offended.
Why did they go with Matt Rhule?
Well, I think that they probably surveyed the landscape of Texas and Texas coaches. Obviously, the whole Chad Morris thing. Then I think you needed a guy who has a reputation of being a really good dude. And obviously, there's a lot of coaches that, like, you know, seem that way. And
like Steve Adazio, like Ryan Nanny just said. Yeah.
Ryan is trying to interject himself into this podcast. But I think, like, obviously we're media, and whenever we're around someone, they're aware that they're around media. So, like, my perception, this is something that actually bothers me quite a bit when people kind of put coaches on pedestals. Like, you don't know them.
Right.
But I think in this sense, so you really, if you're Baylor, you really have to do your research and actually get down to people who aren't just going to say, like, he seems great, he's great around me, because you really have to make a culture change. And yesterday I was around a lot of the Pitt guys and some of the other, and actually Penn State. I saw James Franklin yesterday too, and Narduzzi, and they all were like, that's a great hire. That is a great, great hire for Baylor, because they've been around him. They've seen what he's done at Temple with a program that almost got folded. And they just think really highly of him as a person and his integrity. And I think that that's something you need when you are coming out of a huge scandal. And you've had the assistant coaches who've stayed on, like, openly in rebellion against the administration there. So obviously you got to get rid of them and you got to start over. And, you know, I don't know anything about his, like, dealings with Title IX coordinators or anything on that end at Temple. But obviously, like, he's going to have to, you know, be really good at that stuff and any potential issues there. But I just think that Baylor did a really good job. Like, I understand people saying, like, it's a weird fit without the Texas stuff. But I think the caliber person and coach and the fact that what he did at Temple, of all places, is so impressive that I think that maybe I'm in the minority, but I think it was a really good hire for them.
So I get it from the Baylor perspective. I don't get it from the Matt Rhule perspective.
Stone cold cash.
Right. I mean, the cash will do it, but within the Penn State community, people thought he was waiting out the Penn State job. Now, that's not going to happen, but
Right.
Well, also the Notre Dame community thinking he's waiting out the Notre Dame job.
I'm just wondering if he would have waited another year, what kind of options he would have had if there was something better than Baylor that would have presented itself. Dan and I, when we talked about this initially after the news broke, Dan, your reaction was, wow, he must have really wanted a job. Baylor's an okay place, but it's not a great situation.
Right.
Yeah, it's not. But I think that some of the program building aspects and like some of the things that like if I'm him, I wouldn't have taken the job for, are probably not as scary for him. And maybe it's harder what he did at Temple than it would be at Baylor. I mean, think about the resources you have there and the things that you're starting with.
Mhm.
I obviously they have one recruit right now.
Right.
But things like that. And so I agree with you. That's the side that doesn't make a ton of sense.
Right.
Unless you are ready for a move and maybe you do think that Temple's going to take a step back next year. They won 10 games, right? I mean, like if you're going to take a significant step back, maybe you're not going. Maybe your name isn't going to be coming up for some of the other jobs, the bigger jobs next year. But I guess I've been around him a little bit. Like I said, you don't know people, but I would just think he's not afraid of a challenge.
Yeah.
If you took Temple,
That's true.
and have done what Temple's has done,
Like Steve Adazio, like Al Golden, guys that just go on
it's
to
a
like
powerhouse.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Go on.
No, but the American Athletic Conference has had some really incredibly good coaches.
Yep.
It's been really competitive the last few years, and guys have kind of left when there was a decent opportunity.
Mhm.
It's not that they're going to stay there forever, but they are waiting out for the right ones. But I think to him, this is a high-paying job in a power conference, and you're not starting where Baylor started, like when
Right.
they were
Yeah.
ground zero.
Well, that's a good point.
Got
Yeah.
beautiful facilities.
Mhm.
You're in Texas. If you can get that going, it's not going to be that long until Baylor's back up.
Kolaches. Ty, I will also add, I loaded a picture right now of Matt Rhule up. Of all of the new coaching hires, Matt Rhule 100% most closely resembles the mascot of his new school.
Yeah. Oh,
Wait, that's
definitely.
actually something I look at all the time in basketball games.
So Matt Rhule looks closer to a bear than Jeff Brom looks to a Boilermaker, than Willie Taggart looks to a duck, than Tom Herman looks to a bull, than Ed Orgeron looks to a tiger. Matt Rhule is a fit in that regard.
You know who I miss, by the way? This is unrelated. I miss Bo Ryan because I thought he looked the most like his mascot out of anyone.
That's true. Bo Ryan could put on a sweater and just be in a Halloween costume already.
So you're telling me that Jeff Brom doesn't look like the Purdue Boilermaker? Is that what I'm hearing?
Not like Matt Rhule.
I mean,
looks
like if you put like how Facebook was invented, like face mash, like probably not. Like you're probably going to have a different opinion.
Do you know anything about Jeff Brom? Do you have an opinion on that, Nicole?
Not just that, he's just been a very good coach.
Yeah.
And I think that he's going to bring like he's known for a certain style of play. And I think
that's the thing.
Purdue has to get more exciting. And so, you bring a coach like that. I mean, I think that's a really good hire. When Purdue is getting someone that is legitimately pursued by other people, that's a good hire for Purdue.
I have one more question, and then we'll let Nicole go because she's here to help us out with the Piesman Trophy.
Very excited about that.
Number one dog that you came across mascot-wise of 2016 as the year comes to a close.
Oh, man, this is a really tough question because I did see Butler Blue 3, which coming off of ACL surgery, I mean, really in the middle of
cutting
rehab.
ability?
What?
Does Butler Blue 3 have cutting ability after the ACL surgery?
Working on it.
Okay.
Now, I've been following on Snapchat, and his rehab has involved a lot of licking peanut butter sticks while walking on a water. So it's been definitely progress. I watch it every day. Dog.
Have you seen the Husky or the Malumet or whatever of Washington? Have you been to a Washington game?
I did. I actually took a photo next to the monument.
Okay.
And then I got yelled at because apparently you can drive on that street, like right next to it, and car almost hit me.
Handsome Dan, which is the greatest mascot name there is, of Yale. The Hoya of Georgetown, you've not come across this year?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Jack always gets jealous, though, when I spend time with Butler Blue. All right, we'll go with the Husky, I guess.
Okay.
Even though it wasn't alive.
Wow.
And we know how much of a fan I am of live things.
Sure.
That are dogs.
Everybody knows that about you.
But I live with a live dog.
I have shown pictures of your dog, Nicole, to my wife, who will be at the Piesman with me on Friday.
Yes. Wait, should I bring the dog?
I mean, I don't know what the rules are.
Ryan, is it animal friendly?
Probably not.
Ryan has to check on that.
And if you are there, I think we might want to talk about the puppy.
Yes, and I think we should.
Nicole has a lot to say about her dog.
Okay, food and puppies. It's a date.
Done.
Boom. Thank you,
All
Nicole.
right, I'll see you there.
We got the whole Kramer Merv Griffin set thing going on over there.
That's what's going on.
Okay, where'd we leave off? So we talked about Matt Rhule. We talked about Willie Taggart.
What are your thoughts about Matt Rhule? I mean, we had a guest on and she talked about it, and I think she brought up some good points. So you have, can this be an honest space, Ty?
Yeah, we're all friends here.
You have some skepticism
I do.
about Matt Rhule.
I think Matt Rhule's a good coach. I think what he's done at Temple has been nothing short of a miracle.
Okay.
It's not a long enough track record for me to feel totally confident in him moving to a big school. That might not be his fault. I'm not saying it is, but I've never been like super gung-ho on Rhule, and it's probably because he comes from that old mindset of we're going to run the ball and play defense. If you can do that effectively, especially in the Big 12, then you're certainly onto something. But I just feel like it's a lot easier to do that in the American than it might be in a big Power 5 conference.
Yeah, my first thought was like, wow, that's a weird fit. He's defensive-minded. They run the ball really well. He's not an air raid guy. He's not from Texas. But part of me thinks going against that sort of norm, like where has that gotten Texas Tech?
Yeah. Well,
Where has that recently gotten TCU? Where has that gotten Oklahoma State beyond like they get to the door, but they never really get through the door? And it's sort of just like it plays into what you can recruit in Texas, but there's no reason that dominant receiver can't be a dominant safety. And sort of playing against type, I think if Matt Rhule is the type of, and we mentioned this with Willie Taggart, day-to-day, gets buy-in, recruit, sort of get everybody on the same page kind of guy, there's no reason that can't work at Baylor for football reasons. There are extenuating circumstances in Waco, but I think it's a pretty good situation. I still think he can succeed. It's going to take some time though, because the numbers there are
the numbers
bare bones.
The numbers are not in his favor at this point. He is going to play defense and he's going to run the football. If he can get that going in the Big 12, I think he can be really successful doing it. He just doesn't have as long a track record as some of these other names here that we've been discussing.
Right.
And that to me is really the main source of skepticism.
Okay, next coaching hire.
Also, before we go to a commercial break, we should mention in a little more detail this Jeff Brom hiring to Purdue. So Jeff Brom's a guy that, universally speaking, everyone seems to be pretty gung-ho on this hire for Purdue. Like, people are talking about this from the standpoint of Purdue's lucky that he chose them above some of the other options that were out there for him. By all accounts, this is a pretty good hire. And as Nicole said, Purdue needs to be exciting again.
Yeah, I like having a definitive schematic direction, not necessarily advantage, but direction. What he's been able to do at Western Kentucky has been nothing short of spectacular offensively within the context of the Hilltopper schedule. Everywhere he's been, he's succeeded to various degrees. Obviously, his pedigree is both playing. He played and coached at Louisville, I believe, with some pro experience, obviously. So I think what he will try to do at Purdue is he will try to recruit some speed, 2-3 star speed, which, listen, if you can teach specific roles, you can beat teams with better talent. The key is going to be defense, if you're going to be playing with that tempo, if you're going to score quickly at all. But the bottom of the Big Ten right now is such that you can win 6, 7, 8 games by getting a schedule break, non-conference break, and catching teams at home after a bye week, things like that I'm not confident Purdue is getting to Joe Tiller heights by any stretch, but he can certainly, if you can do one thing really, really well, no matter where you are, and you go back to like what Mike Leach did early on at Texas Tech, you can become that team that is scary and you don't want to play them ever. And that's what I think the ceiling is, and that's fine.
One thing that I read about Jeff Brom that really made me excited, just as a college football fan, is also his ability to be flexible. Maybe not quite as flexible as a Willie Taggart, but certainly he's a guy who is really good at assessing his personnel and coming up with some way to fit that into his system, using the tools in front of him. He seems to be pretty good at that. So we'll see. He's going to have his work cut out for him at Purdue, but if you're a Purdue fan, I think this feels like a bit of a coup, and it's a good hire. So we've got 3 teams now with coaches. We've got 3 other teams that are now in search of coaches, which we will discuss here again at the appropriate time. But before we move on and talk about some other news, Dan, have you heard of Blue Apron?
I not only have heard of Blue Apron, I've used it and am enthusiastic about it.
Not all ingredients are created equally. Fresh, high-quality ingredients. They taste better. They're better for you. So, it is important where your food comes from. We've both gotten Blue Apron, as you alluded. It's cool. It comes in an awesome box with exactly the amount of ingredients that you need in order to craft any one of a variety of just awesome meals. What they've got on the December menu is as follows. This is your favorite part because I can't say all the words, but I'm going to try.
Oh, I love it when you struggle with this. It's just my favorite.
They've got roasted pork and braised cabbage with barley and glazed apples. I think I nailed that.
You nailed that one.
They've also got Thai green coconut curry with sweet potato and jasmine rice. Nailed that one too.
You did a good job.
And then they've got brown butter and chestnut gnocchi with Brussels sprouts and pea shoot salad, Dan.
You're pronouncing it E-N-Y-O-K-I.
Gnocchi. How do you pronounce it?
Gnocchi.
It's not gnocchi.
Gnocchi.
It's not gnocchi.
Nya.
It's a gnocchi.
So you know the Spanish N with the tilde above it.
Yes.
Start the word with that.
No, it's
the Enya.
It's gnocchi.
You keep saying gnocchi. It's driving me crazy.
Here's the deal. If you're interested in Blue Apron, they'll send you all you need to make a great meal. You can get 3 meals for free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/solid. It feels good. It tastes good to create an incredible home cooked meal. Blue Apron. Don't wait. It is blueapron.com/solid. You can try any one of those cool meals that I tried to read off. You've also got other options. Blue Apron, don't forget, it's a better way to cook.
What do we got next?
What's going on in Alabama? Are they going to have a quarterback for these here playoffs?
They will have Jalen Hurts. And I'm sorry, that's the end of my sentence. Because at this point, so Blake Barnett transferred at the end of September, correct?
Correct.
It was right around then for the purposes of academic calendar stuff, transferring to a school, I think, on the quarter system. And he is now, I don't know if it's official in terms of sign, seal, deliver, but he is committed to play for Arizona State moving forward, which is closer to his home in San Diego. David Cornwell and Cooper Bateman, a.k.a. Copper Batman, have decided also to transfer. And I think we anticipated one of the two, but not necessarily both when you have a true freshman quarterback who immediately makes a big impact. That's when numbers become tricky. And I don't know what happens if Jalen Hurts, and it's by his namesake, and we hope for continued health, if he gets hurt against Washington or against whoever they might play in the national championship game if they get by Washington. I don't know what they do. If they have like a backup, I know somebody mentioned an Ardarius Stewart contingency emergency wildcat plan, because I think the name of the kid behind him is like Montana Murphy, and he's a backup high school quarterback. That's his experience.
Does that mean that the game plan will feature less Jalen Hurts on the move?
It could. Yeah. I really would hope not, because that is what has gotten Alabama to this point. And by rolling back their offense, you take a pretty big risk against a very, very good, if not great, Washington team that they struggle and give the ball to Washington with advantageous field position or to sort of tire out that defense. Here's my question to you, though, Ty. Bigger picture.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a huge problem that we've seen quarterbacks transfer at just astronomical rates, because they don't become a starter. They want to start elsewhere. Is there anything that can be done about getting quarterbacks to places and into positions in which they sort of know they're a backup quarterback and they'll be pretty good if called upon, but won't necessarily want to start for Alabama? Or is that just a problem that you have to deal with when you play a competitive sport like football?
I think equal responsibility falls on the coaches in some cases for overpromising, and in other cases probably on the kids for maybe not knowing the landscape that they're walking into. That's just sort of the nature of the beast. If you try out for a traveling team at any age, you know that it's competitive.
To be fair, they arrived in Alabama at least a year before Jalen Hurts. They had no idea he existed.
Nick Saban's probably on the heels of his 5th championship at Alabama.
Right.
He didn't get there by playing next up. He got there by playing the best available. You go into that setting, sorry, man, that's just sort of the way it goes. That's just the nature of the beast. So I don't know if there's a great way to solve it. I would hope that coaches aren't overpromising. It could just be that players are getting googly-eyed knowing that Bama comes calling. They want to play for Nick Saban. They want to go to the NFL. And then you get in town, you've got 4 other guys who are of equal mindset.
Such a strange, maybe unorthodox recent history of Alabama quarterbacks. So you have A.J. McCarron, who's sort of an all-timer in terms of just pure efficiency. And then Blake Sims, who a lot of people thought might be moving to running back. You have Jake Coker, who comes in. Everybody assumes he's going to start right away, but he sits down for a year to learn the offense as a grad transfer from Florida State, and then comes in as a grad transfer and runs the offense and leads them to a national championship in his only year starting, much like Blake Sims led them to a playoff in his only year starting. And now we have a true freshman all of a sudden taking over, and now Alabama's like a spread option, read option team.
Weird.
Just a very, it's unexpected and cool to see that they have this much success at the most important position with sort of figuring it out on the fly. But man, did not see that coming.
All right. Here are your Heisman finalists. We've got Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Dede Westbrook, our boy, Jabril Peppers, and Deshaun Watson. Dan, who's your pick?
Dalvin Cook? I don't know. I don't feel... So Lamar Jackson hit the highest highs of anybody this season, offense or defense. And I know Jonathan Allen had a great year. Jabril Peppers is the most versatile defensive player in the country. He is not the best defensive player in the country. And that's okay because he's still really, really good. He may not be the best football player in the secondary for Michigan. That looks like it's Jordan Lewis. I'm going to be very as honest as I can be. My favorite college football quarterback of all time won the Heisman Trophy 2 years ago. And that was the only moment that I feel like I truly cared about the award. And it's just very difficult. I mean, we like to make fun of Cam Newton thanking the troops. That was a good moment, but the Heisman Trophy, one, it's obviously not the Piesman Trophy. And two, it's so arbitrary in that we're just giving it to quarterbacks, and Lamar Jackson had kind of a disappointing November, but it didn't affect it. I don't know. I don't feel passionate about any of these guys in terms of standing above and beyond the rest of the sport.
I would go Lamar Jackson. The stats that he put up in the early part of the season were mind-boggling. I think combined for 51 touchdowns this year between running and throwing. Those numbers are incredible. I am with you though regarding the Heisman Trophy, and it's not a hipster thing either. For me to say, I don't like the Heisman. It's got nothing to do with that. For me, I've just never been a fan of individual awards. I don't like Heismans. I don't like MVPs. I don't like Halls of Fame. I don't like any of that stuff. I like the team sport.
Right.
So for me, this whole Heisman thing doesn't have as much significance. I can't possibly imagine a Baker Mayfield or a Dede, Jabril Peppers, Deshaun Watson, any of those guys getting enough late support to overtake Lamar Jackson. So it's really anyone's guess who comes in second among those candidates. That's sort of been our narrative all year. It seemed like it was Lamar Jackson all the way up at number 1, and then it was sort of a battle royale to figure out who number 2 could be. So I'm curious from that standpoint to see who comes in second.
Michael Dixon, Cameron Johnston, Mitch Wishnowsky, Texas, Ohio State, Utah. Who takes home the Ray Guy?
I don't know.
I ride with Utah kickers and punters, so I'm going with that.
Who are the Piesman finalists, by the way?
Piesman finalists, glad you asked. Colton Koch, I believe is how you, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. It's Koch. I should look that up. Colton Koch from Monmouth College in Illinois with his end-around pass. It was on the run, a ridiculous play for a right guard. Vincent Taylor, defensive lineman for Oklahoma State, blocked a PAT against Texas, scooped it up, ran with it for a bit, lateraled it to another player who then ran it in for a, 2-point conversion for Oklahoma State. And then Brian O'Neill, who had multiple Piesman eligible plays and multiple Piesman plays on the ballot. His finalist play is for a play in which he rolled out, starting the play as a left tackle, rolled out behind the quarterback, so technically it was a lateral, so it was a throwback lateral, I think at about the 30-yard line, which he ran up the sideline for a touchdown. So Pitt, Oklahoma State, Monmouth College are this year's epicenters.
What are the rules of the Piesman Trust? Am I allowed to say if I voted for any of these finalists?
Yeah, you can indicate which. You don't have to indicate which you put atop the list.
Right.
Which of these finalists of all three, because we get the top 5 from each voter, and you're a proud voter. Which of these, if any, appeared in your top 5?
2 of the 3 finalists appeared in my top 5, and one of them would have been my 6.
Oh, okay.
Some great candidates this year, and I thought you guys did a really good job presenting it, not just to the people who were voting, but also the people at home who might want to play along with the fun. I thought you guys did a really good job packaging it up this year, and I'm excited. I'm bringing Solid Wife Kate up with me. We're excited to spend the evening and maybe the next day in New York. We'll see.
So we have the ceremony is Friday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. So that would be 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific. Look for it on SB Nation's Facebook page. Look for it, I believe, on YouTube Live. And we will be tweeting out the links. We will both be on camera at a certain point. I will be presenting the sort of introduction and explanation of everything to the audience and to the broadcast. And then Ryan, who is the chair of the Piesman Trust, will be handing out the trophy to one of those 3 very well-deserving guys.
Will there be hard drinking afterwards as there was last year?
I believe so, yes. I believe there will be an after party. And I'm taking Friday, we're recording this on Wednesday, I'm taking the finalists and their guests, which I believe are each representatives of the school, coach or SID or something like that. I think we're doing a pizza feast for lunch.
Oh, cool.
Just good old-fashioned New York pizza. Love it.
Cool. All right, the final news tidbit before we jump in and talk about a few other things here and there.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey announced that he is going pro. He is not a Heisman finalist. You might remember McCaffrey was injured for a chunk of the 2016 season. Still a great player, still a versatile player who will find a spot on some NFL roster in 2017, but he had a nice statement, announces his intentions to go pro. I am excited to see how he does at the next level.
How many white running backs will he, or even fullbacks, will he be compared to completely out of nowhere and incorrectly? He's a Mike Allstott type.
I have to believe all of them all at once.
Yeah, his name is a Danny Amendola. Don't believe he plays that position.
Before we jump in and talk to Taylor, do you want to answer some questions?
Yeah, you want to blitz football term through some Q&A?
Want to go lightning round?
Let's lightning round this.
Want me to go drum and fife? Drum and fife?
Boop. Okay, yes, because I have a drum and fife related question.
Oh, really? Go ahead.
Absolutely, I do. Joe Moorhead, former Fordham coach, current Penn State offensive coordinator. Vacancy at Temple now with Matt Rhule there.
I'm going to fade this out here.
Head coaching experience.
Interesting.
To Philly.
Interesting. I think if I were Joe Moorhead, I would wait. And that's no disrespect to Temple, because Temple is a much better job now after Al Golden and Matt Rhule got done with it. They're also building a stadium and trying to inject some new life and excitement into college football in the great city of Philadelphia. But that's a couple years out. And I got to believe if I'm Joe Moorhead, with the job I did this past season at Penn State, knowing full well that the entire team is coming back in 2017, I got to believe that if he can replicate what he did second half of the season, there are going to be higher purchase for him to sit atop in 2018 if he's interested.
Would he be interested in a bunch of guys looking like a bunch of dudes?
Is that your Jesse Palmer impression? What was that?
No, it's my Steve Adazio. It's very bad. Bob Diaco?
Bob Diaco. No.
I'm saying Moorhead at UConn.
If he wants to take UConn, he might as well just take Temple.
NC State?
I mean, a Power 5 job. A Power 5 job will come his way if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Okay.
Because he's got some head coaching experience. You know, he's not a guy who's just been a coordinator his entire life. He's got some head coaching experience, and albeit at a different level of college football, but still he was very successful. He's obviously proven that he can be successful in a different capacity now at Penn State. If he replicates that, I think he's going to get some better opportunities moving forward.
I would think if there is a Notre Dame domino, I don't think he would go to Notre Dame. I think there was a good chance that he would take the job of the coach that goes to Notre Dame.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I think they'll look relatively in that sort of middle America type region. If it's Michigan State, if it's Arkansas, Brett Bielema at Notre Dame is what I'm saying.
Yeah, great.
All right, next question. Where do you want to go?
I want to go to email, actually. This one's not on the sheet, but Will wrote in asking about Butch Jones. He says, you're two neutral observers. Tennessee's 2016, is it a temporary down year or a sign of bad things to come? Also, do you think Butch Jones is calm / smart enough to handle a Christmas dinner without yelling at a relative's child for being too loud. Okay. That's from Will.
Oh, Butch Jones definitely clicks on fake news stories.
Definitely.
And talks about it at the holiday table.
Travis Haney, who's been on the show, I hope he found a dentist, by the way. And I understand he's going to be at the Piesman too. Is that correct?
He will be there. I'm having pizza with him tonight.
All right. Well, tell him I said
I'll ask
hello.
him about his dental work.
Tell him I said hello. He wrote an interesting piece today for 24/7 Sports where he talked about the inner workings of Butch Jones's setup down there in Knoxville. And it doesn't sound like it's going great. His account is that Butch Jones is fundamentally a good guy, but he's got some issues with insecurity. He may not be the most comfortable guy in his own skin, and therefore it makes it tough to succeed in his current situation. To be honest, from the outside in, that's kind of how it looks. That's kind of how it looks. And if you look over the course of Butch Jones's career, in his, 10 years of being a head football coach, he's only won double digits twice. I'm inclined to say that come 2018, I guess, maybe they're looking for Joe Moorhead. Who knows? Dave Aranda,
Sure.
He's available.
Yeah, I don't know who they're going to start at quarterback next year. I know they have a freshman this year that I don't know if they're redshirting. I don't know his situation. Jared Guarantano, he's from somewhere up in the Northeast, like New Jersey or something. He looks to be a spectacular playmaker. I know that there's another guy who was a higher recruit that has been behind Josh Dobbs. So I suppose it depends on what the offense looks like. It would not surprise me if either soon or after signing day, they cleaned house a little bit on offense. It's hard to really gauge what they can and can't do on defense with just how many players were injured this year. But even with the off the field stuff, I would imagine there will be a Penn State-like flush of sort of what ailed the offense this past year. And hopefully they can get lucky with hiring the right guys to come in and overhaul everything.
So what I think I'm hearing is Justin Guarini is the starting quarterback next year for Tennessee. Is that the name?
I'm going to get you this guy's name because I can't listen to you say Justin Guarini all season long whenever it is that Jarrett Guarantano?
I mean, it sounds like
right?
Justin Guarini.
Jarrett Guarantano. Yeah.
Justin Guarini. Okay.
He's from Oradell, New Jersey.
Where do we want to go next here? We've got one here. Does Ty want PJ Fleck as Notre Dame's coach?
Oh, yeah. How about that? Big name, hasn't gone anywhere.
Why do you think he didn't go anywhere? That's what I find a little concerning because PJ Fleck was like the hottest thing since sliced bread. And he didn't get any of the current job openings.
I'm not sure. I would assume there's something that maybe popped up when teams were doing background on him because I don't believe Oregon even interviewed him.
Yeah.
So there might be some sort of, I don't know, if there's a red flag, that's just pure speculation based on nothing.
Sure.
That teams are shying away from him, but what he's done in Western Michigan, what he's done for the Broncos absolutely demands attention and sort of suggests that he has the capability to not only turn around, but turn a Power 5 program into something interesting.
I like PJ Fleck. PJ Fleck brings a lot of youthful exuberance to the coaching profession, and he's obviously done great things at Western Michigan. Here's the dilemma, though, if you're Notre Dame. All right, Notre Dame fans, if you take the temperature of the fan base, kind of falls into two categories. And we're going to remove age from this equation, Dan, because I know that's your favorite joke. But
right,
you've got people like me who, if in fact you decide to move on from Brian Kelly, you want to try and get a proven, established name in there as head football coach. You've also
Who
got
is that?
I don't know. And that's part of the reason why I want to keep Brian Kelly. But that aside, the other school of thought is that you want to try and get a young, up-and-coming coach, maybe someone with less of a track record, who at least would be excitable and get the fan base, pumping.
Sure. Not too much.
That's fair to say.
Want the Notre Dame fan base. You got to catch your breath. Maybe take a seat real quick before you get too pumped. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Is it D'Antonio?
I think they would go after D'Antonio. I don't know if he'd take that job.
Right.
The question for the people of my mindset would be, who else are you going to go get? People are still under the illusions that Bob Stoops is coming to Notre Dame. Bob Stoops isn't coming to Notre Dame. People are still under the illusion, even still, that John Gruden might be interested. Not just in Notre Dame, but in any job. John Gruden owns land in all 50 states. You should know that by now, surely. I don't know who those proven commodities are that want to come to Notre Dame and leave their current position. I'm not sure there are a whole lot of them out there. For me, the answer is no on PJ Fleck. I want a guy with more of a track record. If you're going to get rid of Brian Kelly, who, again, you might not like him, but in a football sense, outside of this year, he's still been pretty good. Notre Dame's in a better spot now than it was under the previous guy. He has improved the program. I want a guy who I can feel confident in day one, can come in, can work with all the recruits that Brian Kelly and his team has brought in, and you can win immediately.
Follow up. 8 games into the NFL season next year, Chip Kelly's fired. So Chip Kelly's able to interview if Notre Dame gets rid of Brian Kelly at the end of the season, because his big thing is he doesn't want to talk to teams while he's still coaching and still an active head coach, still coaching a team.
Sure.
Would you take Chip Kelly's gimmick offense in South Bend?
I would love Chip Kelly's gimmick offense in South Bend. I don't think Chip Kelly would want to take his talents to South Bend.
He's from the Northeast. Notre Dame's a big deal.
Notre Dame is a big deal, but you got to believe there are like 5 schools that would fire their coaches instantly if they knew they could get Chip Kelly on staff.
Well, who are the big schools that would come out next year? UCLA.
UCLA would move from Jim Mora if they could get
Texas
Chip Kelly.
A&M.
A&M would consider it.
Auburn,
maybe.
if Auburn comes open. But beyond that, LSU and Texas and USC and Florida. I mean, maybe Florida if McElwain decides to go somewhere else. I don't think they'd get rid of him after next year, but
I just got to believe that there are better gigs out there for Chip Kelly if he wants one.
But the A-list gigs, I don't know how many are going to be open. That's the question. I don't know. And I don't think UCLA is A-list, but it'd be intriguing.
Chip Kelly at Arkansas would be interesting.
Disagree.
Just throwing it
I
out
would
there.
not be thrilled with that.
All right, we got time for one more question.
Okay, we're having a celebratory situation Friday night, the Piesman Trophy ceremony. People are dressing up. Square-toed dress shoes, never okay or sometimes okay?
Never. I'm not a square-toed kind of.
Never,
No.
ever.
Yeah, I don't like the way it looks.
You look like Geppetto. There's
Yeah,
no
I don't-
point in that.
I don't like that. I don't even own a pair. Do you own a pair?
Of square-toed shoes?
Yeah.
No, I never have. Yeah, go buy, I think Oxford's be a nice clean look. Doesn't have to be expensive. Go buy some
I would
Oxfords.
like to hear from like a lawyer or somebody who does the dress-up thing a little bit more than I do. When the appropriate time is, or from a fashion
It does not
standpoint,
exist.
what is the rationale for square-toed shoes? It's just not my thing.
All right.
All right, we're going to get to some Army-Navy talk here briefly, but we got to pay some more bills. Let's talk about Harry's, Dan.
Let's.
I will be shaving with Harry's before coming up to the Piesman. I want to look nice and smooth. For not only the camera, if there are cameras there, for not only the missus, she will be there, but also for everyone, for the esteemed Piesman Trust. I want to look my best, and I will be using Harry's razors in order to do that. I would urge everyone out there who has yet to complete their holiday shopping, think maybe about this Harry's offer that we're going to present before you today. Because sometimes shopping for anyone can be impossible, especially a guy who has everything. Like, people don't know what to get me because I just buy it for myself. And they say, well, what do you want for Christmas? I don't want anything for Christmas. I'm good. I get everything I need. Harry's could be a good gift for somebody like that. Sometimes you don't consider the small essentials that you need to look good, to feel good. We've got a deal right now. Go to harrys.com right now. You can get a limited edition holiday shave set while supplies last. Don't forget, enter the offer code SOLID at checkout and get $5 off. This is while supplies last. The ground shipping ends on December 16th, so you got to act now. But if you go to harrys.com and use the code SOLID, you can get $5 off. It's a good deal. It's a good deal, Dan. If you haven't shaved with Harry's before, they've got German-engineered 5-blade cartridges that provide a close, comfortable shave. They've got foaming shave gel, which I love. It smells amazing. Beautifully designed gift box. Goes for, $30 on harrys.com. They also have handles and sets and all sorts of stuff that just starts at $10. If you haven't tried Harry's yet, you will like it. I've used it for well over a year now, and it really, truly is the perfect gift for someone on your holiday shopping list who maybe you just don't know what to get them. So go right now to harrys.com. The code is SOLID. You can get $5 off.
Do it.
All right, Dan. We are pleased to welcome in now. He's sort of the man behind the curtain to some degree because he helps me ever so much.
He's our Nick Saban secret Alabama consultant.
Exactly.
We couldn't do the show without.
Taylor helps us with all things newsletter of intent. He listens to all of your reverbs, all of the reverbs on a Sunday morning and mixes them up into a 3.5, 4.5, 5-minute segment. He also runs his own show, the Zardcast, which you can find now if you're a Washington Wizards fan. Also Talking Terps, where he talks about all things Maryland. So he's a podcast aficionado, if you will. And this coming weekend, he is going on our behalf. We will be at the Piesman ceremony, so we'll be unable to attend, but he is going on our behalf. The kind folks at the Army-Navy game have invited the Solid Verbal to participate. And Mr. Taylor, you will be there, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on. Very excited for this weekend.
Yeah, so what's the game plan?
So I live in D.C., going to take the old MARC train up to Baltimore. They got us set up in a hotel in the Inner Harbor. And I was a little bit skeptical about what kind of, other media organizations' presence would be there the day before the game. But because game day's in town, you will have all the game day guys, all the CBS folks will be mingling among other people. So I'll do some interviews on Friday, in the media row situation thing. I'll have the Snapchat going all weekend.
Yes.
And then Saturday, I will do man on the street interviews. I'll be, mingling at tailgates and such. And then I'll watch the game from the press box, and we'll cut it up into something pleasing to your ears.
So sort of like a live reverbs, if you will.
Yeah, live reverbs with some celebrity guest appearances. It should be good times. I probably need to watch some of Dan's old videos to see how to do those man on the street bits.
Do you have any tips, Dan?
Oh, that is bad advice. Yeah, just go up to people and assume they want to talk to you. That's always the easiest thing to do. Do you have a preference? The United States Army or the United States Navy going in? Do you have a bias?
Oh, I'm a big Naval Academy guy. I grew up in Annapolis, and I've got a bunch of friends who went to the Academy. I'm going to be hanging out with one of my buddies whose entire family went to the Academy, going back generations. So I'm definitely a midshipman kind of guy.
Ty, do you?
I'm a Navy guy.
I myself am a Navy guy, and not for any reason that has to do with the football team or really anything that the United States Navy has or has not done. It is because the Navy is the arm of the armed forces that has aircraft carriers.
Ooh.
They land planes on boats, and that is dope.
But the Air Force has the planes.
Sure, but the Navy has planes too.
Well, that's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
they got have you ever seen the Blue Angels before?
I have seen the Blue
come on,
Angels.
Ty.
That was a stupid comment. I apologize to the Navy. I really do apologize. I do like the aircraft carrier side of this thing here. Now, are they going to have the aircraft carriers on the helmets again? Because there's a whole uniform thing. There's like a second game within the game here. Army's got the coolest uniforms I think I've ever seen. And Navy's doing their own thing.
Aren't they doing a thing? They have stars, and it's like the number of stars is the consecutive wins. Isn't that a thing?
Something like that. It's definitely like an arms race type thing, especially with Navy being Under Armour school and being in Baltimore. I don't remember quite what the Navy ones look like. The Army ones are really sweet, though.
Yeah, the Army ones are like skull and crossbones almost, like a matte black. Yeah, that's cool.
Taylor, without looking, without cheating, spell Ken Niumatalolo's last name.
Oh, my God. Ken. That's
Okay.
it. That's
He
all I
got the first name. That's good.
Ty,
Yeah.
give it a shot.
Sound it out for me one more time.
Niumatalolo. I'll use it in a sentence. Ken Niumatalolo ran out of juice and went to the store for the Niumatalolo family to consume more juice.
Oh, gosh. I would say, all right, so Ken, as Taylor pointed out, it's a Umatellolo.
Niumatalolo.
Oh, it's an A. An A instead of an E.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for using that in a
Okay,
sentence,
listen.
though.
Oh, of course. I assume it helped you tremendously.
All right. Well, Taylor, we appreciate you going on our behalf. Please say hello to everyone for us. There are going to be a ton of people there. Obviously, Army Navy is a big deal, not just in a football sense, but very symbolic in nature as well. We look forward to your segment. I think what's our plan? We're going to do this like next Wednesday. It'll give you a little bit of a chance to like distill all the commentary down into like an 10-minute type clip.
Right. Yeah, that's the plan right now.
Excellent.
Wednesday. Quick question for you guys, if you don't mind. Of course, I'm an avid listener. I listen to all the shows. One of your guys' funny little bits that you do is, Dan, you kind of poke Ty about how he pronounces things.
We did it tonight. Yeah.
Us East Coasters, we have funny accents. You West Coast people are like androgynous and don't have accents, but you chastised him for saying the word gnocchi wrong.
Did it on this show as well.
Oh, okay. I guess I hope I'm not repeating all this then. Did you guys get to the bottom of it? Like who was saying it correctly and who was not? Because I think I'm with Ty on this one, being the resident Italian on the show.
Wait,
Yeah.
so you go full EN-YOKI, gnocchi.
I think I don't quite say it like that. I say gnocchi.
Yeah, that's how I say it, gnocchi.
I think Ty is has the correct Italian pronunciation of it, but we have the Americanized version going on.
We're in America.
Yeah.
So I am on a video, Mario Batali, how to make homemade this word dough
All right.
on YouTube.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Hi, I'm Mario Batali, and this is How To Tuesday. Meet Matt Abdu, the chef de cuisine at Del Posto. He's going to show you how to make gnocchi dough.
Gnocchi dough.
Gnocchi.
How did
Gnocchi.
he just said a Y in the beginning. He didn't even say a GN. His a gnocchi.
No, he had the G.
I need more audio evidence. That's not enough for me.
Tuesday. Meet Matt Abdu, the chef de cuisine at Del Posto. He's going to show you how to make gnocchi dough.
Yeah.
Gnocchi.
I don't know. I don't know if that's confirmed.
Gnocchi.
I don't know.
Are you calling Mario Batali a liar?
I am.
I feel like he would know, Ty.
Whatever. All right. Taylor, thank you. Thank you for what you got going on this weekend on our behalf. We appreciate you putting your busy life on hold to participate in our nonsense. And thank you again for all you've done this year.
Thanks for sending me up there. It'll be a good time. And, I always love listening to the reverbs, love writing up the newsletter. It's solid verbal. Number one verbaler over here. I'll try and sneak it out. I know I've got competition based on the voicemails, but I'll defend that for the time being.
All right. Dan, you got anything else?
No, that's it. That's everything I've got.
On that note, boys and girls, for that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildebrand, and for our good friend Taylor down there in the good old nation's
And
capital.
Nicole.
Yes. Thank you again for tuning into The Verbal. We'll catch you all on Sunday. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.